This is McCook's Mr. Bill. It's an honor to have you here. We're going to talk about dogs a little bit because the weather's getting nice enough. A lot of people are going out for walks. I said they're going for walks. The kids are out playing outside more. At least we hope they're off the computer and playing a little bit more. And so there's more chance of running into a dog. And with upwards of 500,000 people getting bitten each year in the United States, the numbers say, that kind of number tells you that we need to be a better citizen around the animal, and to also try to educate the owners. And most owners are darn good dog owners, and they love their pets with a passion. They're part of the family, like this one is. And as far as I know, this dog wouldn't hurt a flea. But with that in mind, I still keep him under control. Now, when you go for walks, I quite often take a cane, not because I need one, but it does give you a little defensive maneuvering, and if you get on some slick ground, it also helps you that as you get older. But a cane in the Dark Ages was a general thing. A lot of the people walked around with a cane over in Europe because they didn't allow guns, yet it could keep a dog at bay, especially those with rabies back then, because there was no cure for rabies. But we'll talk about our own dog menace that we had here in McCook, Nebraska, on my block. It's been a long time back now, an awful long time back now, but we had a gentleman that had a mean dog. He was a good-sized dog, kind of a Labrador cross mixed with some other stuff, who knows what all. German Shepherd might have been in there, but he was on a chain all the time, as sadly many dogs are, and he'd get loose though. And when he got loose, he'd terrorize the area. And we were worried about it because at the time I had 2 small girls. I happened to be home that day and inside, and I heard screaming, so I ran outside, out front here, and the old trash can, the paper girl, I think she was about 11 years old at the time, she jumped up on top of the trash can dumpster and was screaming her guts out, and that dog was jumping up and snapping at her. Well, I kept the garden hoe in the front because I gardened at that time, front and backyard, big time, and so I grabbed it and headed over there. A trailer in the trailer court next to where we live, a guy come out of the trailer and he come running that direction too, and the 2 of us, that dog decided he couldn't take us both on, so he took off then. Okay, and we got the girl down and calmed down from just hysterical crying, and I had her come over, and my wife was here, so she brought her in the house and they called her folks. That was her last day of newspaper delivering, needless to say. She quit. But anyway, it was a terrible atrocity for that. My wife also called the police, but it took them 15 minutes to get over here. And then, by that time, the owner of the dog had him back on a chain. And so it was his word against ours. And he was a city employee, so they took his word for it and would do nothing about it. The other man that had come up there when I did to drive the dog off, he said to the dog owner, he said, "I'm going to kill that dog if he ever gets loose again. I'm going to kill him." And which I thought that wasn't probably the smartest thing to say. With that in mind, though, about a week later, that dog did get loose again. And that man, whether he did it or not, that dog got killed. The dog was dead, and the owner was furious. Called the cops. Cops came to the guy that had threatened to kill the dog, and so he said he didn't do it, and they even lied. They said, "We've got witnesses that saw you do it." And they tried every trick in the book to get him to confess. He wouldn't confess. And so they couldn't go any further with it because there was no evidence. But the dog owner and that guy that had made the threat were enemies for the next 10 years. 10 years they hated each other. Okay. And made it kind of interesting for the rest of us, wondering if it was going to get beyond violent between those 2. With that in mind, though, the dog owner finally passed away. Then, some years later, the man that had made the threat, he also passed away. I went to his funeral because him and I traded garden seed and garden stuff now and then. And at the funeral, at the gravesite of that man, I was standing there, and a guy up the street went to the funeral too. I knew him. and we weren't part of the family, so we were just standing off the side there, and I made a comment, just a loose comment, not even thinking. I said, you remember that, the dog incident? Oh yeah. And I said, I wonder if he really did kill that dog, because everybody thought he did. And that guy said, no. He said, no, he didn't kill him. And I said, well, I sure hope he didn't. And he said, no, I know he didn't kill him, because I killed that dog. And I looked at him, and he said, I had a couple of small kids. I was on the other side of the block of that trailer court, and he said, I was afraid for my children. So he said, when I saw that dog loose another time, he said, I just killed him. I just killed him. That's all there is to it. And he said, I knew the guy that had done the threatening was going to get the blame. And he said, I didn't care, but he said that dog was going to be dead. Now, I have to admit, my wife and I were considering some kind of violence against that dog to get rid of him, because it was just, we had two little girls here, preschool girls, so we realized what a big dog could do to them. And so I can't say that I hadn't considered it, but again, I didn't do it. But that man that had been accused, because he had made a public verbal threat. So if you're going to do something like that, if you have a menace and the law enforcement literally won't do something for it, and it happens across this country now and then, that somebody can get by with a mean dog that threatens the immediate area. If you're going to do something like that, keep your mouth shut, because he was under the gun for a long time because of that threat, even though he didn't do the harm to the dog itself. That is one of the stories I have. I hope that all of us that are dog lovers, can control those and teach others to control their dogs, maybe get some dog training. And if you think, though, that you just want to have a dog for protection, then put him on a chain. Just put him on a chain and maybe feed him and pet him, for 2 minutes a day. I hope you reconsider and try something else. Get yourself a gun if you want protection, or tear gas or some other thing. But a dog is a living creature that deserves a lot more than being on a chain for the rest of his life in the name of defense for you. Have a good day.